All right, so season 2 of The Wheel of Time is finished. It went by so fast. This is what happens when you drop 3 episodes and there's only 8. We need more episodes and more longer. The Wheel of Time season needs to be longer. But okay, the season finale dropped, and yeah, I watched it. If you watch my reaction, you know I was very, very sleep deprived when I watched it. I've watched it again now twice, and I get to the first time I watched it again. I literally had this sensation of did I actually watch this? There were things that I missed completely. I was so out of it when I watched it. So, yeah, I'm gonna be doing this this particular book nerdy thoughts on the season finale the same way I've been doing the rest of them that I did while I was on vacation. Very loose. I have all the clips, but I do not have notes. Largely because I am still very, very, very jet lagged. I'm also a bit sick. I don't know if you can hear it. My voice sounds odd. I'm sleeping at very weird times of the day. And yeah, so I haven't taken notes, but we are going to go through this. As I always say, though, in these videos, this is going to be full spoilers through to the end of the series. So if you have not read the books and you do not want things spoiled for you, do not watch this video. Not a safe video, full spoilers. You've been warned. And as I have been doing, and I'm going to continue to do until we get it, I'm going to ask you to support SAG-AFTRA, the actors who are on strike. Right now, if you can, please consider donating to the SAG-AFTRA Foundation or the Entertainment Community Fund, organizations which help support the actors and other industry professionals who are not working right now due to being on strike. Links to both of these organizations are in the description below. Let's get into this.
Let's be nerdy with Let's Be Nerdy. Let's be nerdy with Let's Be Nerdy.
So we begin this episode with this flashback to 3,000 years ago, sealing Ishi. First thing I noticed when watching this and rewatching is it's all men that are channeling here. The second thing I noticed, and I don't know if I picked this up on my second watch or my second rewatch, look at the weaves. Look at that. There is not a smidge of taint in there. Like there, I do not see any taint. This is all men, no taint. This is before the Dark One's counterstroke, if we're using book lore here, which I do think we are. Like they have changed some book lore. I don't think we have. So the Dark One's counterstroke of tainting the male half of the one power has not happened here, which, okay, so they sealed the Forsaken sort of one by one and then attempted to seal the Dark One away. That kind of makes sense to me, but I don't know. That's what I picked up here. What do you think? The White Cloak planning strategy session. The White Cloaks in the show are so much more competent than the White Cloaks in the books. Like we saw that in season 1 with Valda able to capture and dehandify some Aes Sedai while burning them at the stake. No, like in the books, I think they managed to capture one Amyrlin, but they only after she was dead. Like they were not very good at this in the books. In the show, they are. Here, we see them actually being competent in battle. Like that thing with the fog. First of all, I will say the first time watching, I actually thought my TV was broken for a bit. I was like, what is happening? Why is it all white? I don't know. This went on for very long. But okay, it's a little bit silly because they were then riding on horses, and you would think that you would be able to hear the horses, and does the fog go high enough that nobody looking from a tower? But whatever, it is a strategy. It is a strategy that worked. It is showing a level of competence here, and I mean they are wanting to help the people from Falme because nobody else has come to help. Nobody is taking this threat seriously. The White Cloaks. Ooh, the nuance. I'm enjoying the nuance here. I also gotta love the glow up that the Waze has. I mean, just look at that. That is creepy. Okay. Anyway, I like these interactions. That little giggle that Lanfear makes when she's like, "Ooh, should I be worried?" I just love that. I have no real book thoughts on that. It's just, mwah, it's perfect. Moiraine, so ballsy. She tries to do what Addison from Everyday Negroes calls a truth lie to Lanfear. It's not gonna work. Like, Lanfear saw her channel to open the way gate, or even if she didn't, Lanfear showed up and the way gate was open and Swan was making her shut, like, there's no way this lie was gonna work, like, at all. Like, what were you thinking, Moiraine? Like, why? Why? This scene, one of the more interesting ones for me to watch the second time around, because I missed so much the first time. Like, again, my brain was just not fully here watching it while fully sleep deprived. Lanfear says, raise the banner. Like, she tells Moiraine to raise the banner here. I don't know how I missed that. So, like, Lanfear here is just, she's got a plan. She's got a strategy. She's working things. And Moiraine and Lan are part of this. The other thing that just hit me, I think my the second rewatch, third time watching, Lanfear just tossed Moiraine out a doorway. That feels like foreshadowing for something that will happen later between the two of them. Like, I like how the show is building up the connections between Moiraine and Lanfear, because there isn't much in the books. Like, there isn't much. They are not paralleled nearly as much. So the show is pitting them against each other. And I think that is going to bode well for something that is about to come. This would be confirmed traveling. They're in the ways. He's mad at her because she touches his face again. There's too much face touching. And there it is. That is the first official confirmed traveling. I mean, they aren't using that word, but that is obviously what that is. So that is an ability that I expect to start being more on display as the show moves forward. Okay, so I already talked about this fog being a sign of White Cloak competence. Like, they have a plan, they have a strategy. It is a slow strategy, but they follow it, and it, to some degree, works. The other thing, though, I think about this fog is the fog is the show writers and whatever. They are trolling us. And by us, I mean those of us who are obsessed with and have read the books. This fog in an episode where there is going to be a horn blown. We are primed to think of this fog a specific way. To me, this is like the Dana thing from season 1, where they introduce a character named Dana in an episode with Tom, knowing that us book readers are going to go, Dana, Dina, Tom, okay, we know who this is, and then they can shock us. This is the same, I feel like. It's fog in an episode, the season finale of a season that is largely following book 2. We're all going to think one thing, and it's not going to be that. Okay. I knew the second that Perrin was like, stay. I knew he wasn't going to stay, and I knew, this is going to hurt. And it did. Is anyone else getting a vibe from Lanfear and Ishii? Because I'm getting a vibe. Like, I'm getting a vibe like the Lanfear, Ishii, and Luz were an item. Am I crazy? That is the vibe that I'm getting. Like, the way that these two are, it could just be the level of creepy touching that they do, but there's something going on here. Anyway, yeah. So here we have very, very clear, she has her own plans. He has his own plans. They are not working together here at all. I didn't like this. I don't mean that in a bad, like it was bad in the show. I don't like seeing Nynaeve in this outfit. It's just like, I know that part of that is my book knowledge informing my interpretation of this, that Nynaeve does not like being in this position. In the books, Nynaeve is disgusted when she figures out what the Idam does. It revolts her. And like there's a moment where like they had been planning for Elaine to wear the collar, and the minute she realizes what it is, she's like, there's no way in hell I'm going to make Elaine wear that. Like, that's just, no, it's revolting. But they luckily have a Sul'dam, and she doesn't care about the Sul'dam in the books at all. But it just, I don't know. I think that is what informed my revulsion of seeing her like this. The other thing, and I noted this, I think, even in my reaction, for some reason, Elaine touching her face here didn't bother me. Now, granted, it is very much in, like, blind. She is checking her makeup to make sure. But it also doesn't feel invasive. A lot of the touching that the Forsaken do just feel invasive. Like, she walks there with her hand out like it's a known thing. Nynaeve can pull. I don't know. I don't know why. It just didn't creep me out the way the other face touching has in the series. Putting on the makeup, I liked this touch to the Seanchan culture. Like, they have very, very ritualized facial adornments. Like, even the Sul'dam all have a certain type of facial scarring that they then put makeup over, I guess, when they're going into battle. We've seen that with, I'm calling them the Death Watch guards. They might not be, but they look like death, like, because their helmets look like skulls, and they have black makeup on the upper parts of their face. I think this is it feels appropriate. It feels like what the Seanchan would do. Like, if they go into battle, we have to put on our very, very specific smoky eye for going into battle. This is something I found that the show has done with Egwene, which is very interesting, that they've made her hair a strong symbol of her autonomy. We saw that in season 1 when the White Cloaks took out her braid. And then, okay, in this season, she's been wearing her hair out, but as a way to reinforce her own sense of self, she would, the minute, like, when allowed or when given time among, like, in the kennels, she is braiding her hair to reaffirm to herself who she is. It's intriguing to me that this is something that is being written in the show as pertaining to Egwene, when braiding in the books is very much, that is Nynaeve's thing. It is completely Nynaeve's thing. Now, Nynaeve in the show so far hasn't really taken out her braid, so we don't really need that, I guess. But I don't know, it just intrigues me that they've given this symbolism to a character that it doesn't pertain to in the books. It works, though. It completely works. So Fain here meeting with the Ishamael. Fain, I am, okay, reserving judgment because I don't know where they're going with this. I don't know if, like, so far Fain has been very, very tangential. And in the books, he doesn't really, he has a lot of potential as a villain in the books that is not fully realized. And I'm wondering what the show is going to do with him. Is the show going to fulfill that potential, or is it going to just pull back and have him just be a regular villain who is just there on the outskirts? I don't know. Here, he seems to very much want the same thing as Ishii. Like, he wants to break the wheel. In the books, Fain just, he hates the Dark One, but he also hates the light. Like, he hates everything. And he basically is working to destroy everything, kind of. I don't know. His motivations are not, they're somewhat opaque, but he does not want good things, let's just say, to put it mildly. It's just interesting seeing him here. He does seem to be very in line with what Ishamael wants. I'm intrigued. I am intrigued. Ooh, the word I'm going to say, I am cautiously intrigued by what they are doing with Fain, because I don't know. It's very hard to tell, considering that his presence in the show has been very limited so far. This is another scene that, again, it just hurt me. And again, fully pulling my book knowledge in here. In the books, Nynaeve hates this. She hates it. She does, I think, her first torture by accident and then realizes what it is. She has to use it, but I think she only uses it a couple of times and then threatens. But like that disgust on her face there, that is very much present in the books. And so it hurt me to see this. And this is I'll get into that, I guess, when those scenes happen later, but this is one of the roots of my, the way I'm interpreting some scenes that happen with Nynaeve later on in this episode. It intrigues me that this is true in the books. Elaine was there to watch this happen, but I think Elaine observing this is also going to inform their friendship. Just gonna call this out, that whole, I'm going to make you regret the first kiss your mother gave your father, directly from the books. Love it. Another scene almost from the books. We have Rand here seeing Egwene. Now, in the books, he kind of sees her and is fairly certain she's there. It's very far away. So here, it's very, very explicit. But he does see her and he does want to go. This is something that does happen in the books. So Fain here is trying to tempt Mat with the dagger. So this, okay, first of all, I loved seeing Fain and Mat interact. I wish we'd gotten some more of this. I do feel like this was sort of a tease of what probably was going to be in the final scene or final scenes of the season finale last season. Like, I think this is what was intended for these two to play off of each other. But okay, we didn't get that, so we're getting this. It still feels a bit truncated to me. But what was intriguing to me about this, again, comparing it to the books, in the books, Mat had to be severed from the dagger and then severed from the dagger again with multiple Aes Sedai using it on Griel. It's a whole thing. Here, he has been separated from the dagger. He seems to be okay. Like, Moiraine did her thing, but he is still drawn to it and tempted by it. So I think the show is asserting that he's fine. Like, as long as he stays away from the dagger, he'll be fine. Now, he has to touch it here, but as long as he doesn't directly touch it, he's fine. I think that's what the show is asserting, and which is fine. Like, I have no issues with it. I'm just trying to put the pieces together with, again, what I know from the books versus what they're showing us in the show. I mean, I knew it. I made a whole video talking about this, but I knew that when Moiraine said we were never equals, that she meant you've always been my better. Like I knew that. But hearing her say it, I was very smug. Again, I like being right about things sometimes. But yeah, so it was very good. I think we needed this closure to this conflict that has been brewing all season. Just because I know a lot of people were very, very mad at Moiraine. She like even acknowledges it. She says like, "Are you sure you want to be back with me after what I've done to you," or something like that? She says, so she knows she's been less than ideal. So this is, I don't know. I think this was a good scene. Speaking of good scenes, this one, I'm of two minds. First of all, those are weaves, right? So this is, I don't think this can be unmasking. I don't think again, the show could change the mechanics, because masking in the books is just like a mental trick. It's not anything to do with weaves. So the show can totally change the mechanics. I do think, though, that this, like, everything here is symbolic of, it's supposed to be a rebonding. I think that's what we're supposed to get here. And that doesn't make sense, because I don't think she ever released his bond. However, this is one of those situations where I'm like, rule of cool. It was beautiful. Like, I teared up watching this. It was just, yes, I need them to be friends again. I'm so invested in their friendship and their relationship that I love seeing this. And the other thing noting, like, this gets very, very physically intimate without being romantic or sexual. Like, they touch faces. Not creepy. Somehow, when the Forsaken are doing it, it is creepy. Why? What is different? Like, why does that not creep me out? I don't know. So Perrin meets up with Loyal and Ingtar and Massima, and they've already got the horn. And again, this is one of those scenes where it was very fun on a rewatch, because I was just like, what? How is this? I literally had this moment of, did they re-edit the episode in between, like after I went to bed or something? Because I missed them saying a lady from Kyrian helped them find the horn. I was like, what? Lanfear showed up and was like, hey, here's the horn. What? Lanfear? She is just the puppet master here. I mean, you know, Egwene has beef with Valda. Like, serious beef with Valda. This is one of those situations, like, I don't want her to be forced to use her power as a weapon like this, but also, yeah, shoot Valda, please, because he's a bad man. Bad man. And, of course, her fireballs are the best of everybody's fireballs, because it's Egwene. This scene... Oh my gosh, okay, this scene... hilarious, absolutely hilarious, especially because they use this in pretty much every teaser promo. They knew, again, us book readers would be like, okay, we're gonna see Rand become a blade master. Like, they played us, they showed us this over and over again, built it up, and it's Indiana Jones. He just like takes everyone out except the voice, who is not armed. Did you notice that? Rand took everyone out who had a weapon, did not in any way harm the voice. The voice harmed themselves, but okay, I liked that little touch to, yeah, Rand isn't going to hurt anybody he doesn't think is a threat to him. That voice is fine, could have lived if he hadn't been brainwashed by the Seanchan culture. But okay, I think this scene, it works. It does still feel abrupt, like it's funny, and it, I don't know, the tone of it feels a little bit odd for the episode, but I do think that this was the only way to do it, because if there had been a sword fight, which is what I was expecting, I don't think the sword fight would have been earned, because we have not seen Rand practice. And so him actually winning a sword fight would feel OP. Like, no, where did you learn how to do that, Rand? You sure that the old man in the mental facility, he taught you? Like, I don't think that would work. So I think this is the only way to have this interaction and actually have it work. It is comical, and it's comical in a way that doesn't necessarily, to me, the tone doesn't necessarily fit. Okay, so in some way, like a very weird way, I was kind of right about that previous scene. I was also kind of right about Ingtar. I was like thinking I don't know how they're going to do it. We have not seen enough of Ingtar to earn the moment of his reveal and his absolution and the sacrifice. So we just get the sacrifice. And it's a touching moment, but it's not particularly, it's not as, well, it's not, obviously it can't be what the books is because we haven't gotten his confession, reveal, absolution. We don't get any of that. We just get the sacrifice. And, okay, the thought that I had when watching this, maybe the second time, I don't know, is, ooh, I like this because they've dribbled enough clues in the season for his reveal to still work, right? And so there's going to be plenty of people who watch this series who are going to go read the books, and they're like, it's like the show has left breadcrumbs for a story that only exists in the books. And like selfishly, the thought I had is, ooh, if I actually do read these books with Addison, this is going to be fun. So, okay, Lanfear has been playing everybody since episode 1. She sold that broken piece of Quendiar to Domon and made him, I'm assuming, directed him to get it to Moiraine. Again, this episode is just sprinkled with Lanfear puppet master abilities going all over the place. So that's kind of cool. What struck me here as just funny. Okay, first of all, everybody, I think I'm not the only person pointing out Bail Domon being asked to dump things in the ocean and then that not working. Kind of funny because that is a thing that happens. Not with seals, obviously, but with something else later on that he fails to dump in the deepest part of the ocean. The other thing about this that just cracked me up is Bail Domon is being asked in Falme to go to his boat and wait and then like to be sent on a mission. That is what happens to him in the Great Hunt. He is told, like, he goes to his boat and he's waiting for Nynaeve and Elaine and Egwene and Min. And then he eventually leaves because he has no choice. Like, the Seanchan are basically, there's a war happening. He has to go. But it just cracks me up that his activity at the end in the last battle of both, like, the show and the books is to be in his boat waiting. Okay, I remember this, I think, from the first time I watched him dusting off his hands like that. I don't think it actually made the edit because I think I just went, and then that was it. But I took me a bit. Like, I think I caught it on my third watch to go, oh, the seals, which I guess he broke with his hands? I don't know. It's whatever. It's a good clue for that. So, okay. I was mad at myself for not noticing this. Again, second time around watching it, being like, he made an Ashandari. He made an Ashandari here. That's what he made. Awesome. So Egwene, yeah, she had been like shooting fireballs at the White Cloaks and whatnot. Here you see, she's looking around the people of Falme. She doesn't want to harm them anymore. And she turns around to Rena and she spits out her binky. Like, okay, look, I'm on record not being a fan of okay. It's just because there's nothing to fasten it in. And the reason it bothers me is because that is possible, that she can spit it out. And it seems to me that the Seanchan would not want that. They're like, the Seanchan do believe that everybody will follow them. And like, once they've said their oaths, they trust that people will not abandon their oaths. They do very much think that everybody will live according to the rules. But they even say it in this series. There are points to this in the books. They don't really guard the horn. They have tons of guards around the Damane because they do not trust the Damane. The Damane are people who can channel. I can't imagine that they would have something in them meant to control that they wouldn't put every safeguard on to control it. Like, it reads to me as incomplete. That having been said, one of the reasons it reads to me as incomplete is because you can do that. And so seeing Egwene actually do that was very satisfying to me. The nuance here. The White Cloaks, bad. Very, very bad. They burn witches at the stake. They don't like women who can channel for no reason. They are somewhat misogynistic, militaristic culture. They are the only people who have come to help in Falme. And like, there's Jeffrey Bornholt being like, come, follow me, people of Falme, like, take up arms. The nuance. There's just, not everybody is all bad. Not everybody is all good. In this case, fighting against the Seanchan is the right thing to do. Okay, so Sita gets shot here. And okay, one thing I noted, of course, you hear it when the White Cloaks are talking about going to the tower. They're going to the tower to fight the witches that are fighting with the Seanchan. They do think that the female channelers up there are witches or Aes Sedai, I'm going to assume. You'll note they shot the demone, like the person who looked like a demone in this situation. It just struck me as a contrast between when Raimo was fighting and Raimo was going after the Suldam. So, you know, who basically you see as the enemy here. The White Cloaks see the channelers as the enemy. Yeah, that's my thoughts here. And of course, the uncertainty that Nynaeve has in this moment. She has just tortured this woman, and now the woman is dead. And okay, again, informing something that I think I'll talk about when that scene comes up later. Megan, okay. I knew since season 1 that she was probably going to get captured by the Seanchan. Didn't fully suspect her dying, but that's brutal. This is obviously like, well, actually that last scene also a bit of a confirmation of something that was there were some articles about this talking about how the demone collar only comes off when you're dead. And there it is. That's, first of all, that special effect work, seamless, very, very good. But okay, this is different from the books. In the books, it literally is something that you can undo with the clasp. This is magical. And I've talked about this before, but there are scenes in the books where like Matt opens one with his hands. Like he just like, and there's like a click or a switch or something. There's somehow he is able to open it without any magical ability because Matt cannot channel. So I'm curious to know if A, those sorts of things will happen, and B, how, if so, how they will get around it, because they've made this a pretty hard and fast rule. Look, who so luckily ran into Perrin. Lucky man. Sorry, that just had to make that joke. Okay, I think I talked about this in my reaction, but okay, they've changed the system a little bit. Well, not a little bit, it's actually quite extensive. Here, what they've said is that the Suldam are channelers who are just so weak in the power that they aren't registering by the people who are sent out to find. They call them the searchers. So I'm going to assume again that the searchers are demone who have a special ability to detect female channelers, but only, I guess, above a certain range. So this is different. In the books, there is a distinction between people who are born with a spark, who will channel whether or not they get any training whatsoever. It's just like inevitable. And those who can be taught how to channel. So this is very different. I do think that, okay, I think this is a good change for the show. First of all, I think this makes things very, very simple and easy to understand. I do think that the nuance in the books is better. Okay, the reason I think it's better, and I'll just clarify, when I say better, I prefer it. Because a woman who can be taught to channel can be the equal of a woman who was born with a spark. Whereas somebody who is like born with only a fraction of an ability will never be an equal of a person who is born, like a person who has a strength of ability, like a level of ability in channeling the one power that is detectable by the searchers. So the reason I think that this the distinction in the books works a little bit better is I can see the Seanchan going, well, even if this is the case, even if the Suldam are channelers just like the demone are channelers, the Suldam are safe. They are never going to be a threat to us, so we don't need to change our philosophy. Whereas the way it is in the books, you do have to, because they're equal. Like the only distinction between them is that some of them might not be aware that they can channel, but they can still channel to the same degree. Again, this is not a complaint about the show. I think the way the show has done it works and it's a good shorthand. It is easy for everyone to understand. But my brain, like trying to, oh no, if I was a Seanchan, like if I was Tuon, for example, this would not change anything. Like I'd be like, well, that's fine. If the Suldam are channelers, but they're very, very weak, I am not afraid of them. They do not need to be managed. This scene, very, very dark. Okay, so Rhenna releases Egwene from her collar somehow. Now, okay, let's start with this. She is already released here. She is no longer a demone, and Egwene just sits and watches her die. At this point, Rhenna is not a threat to her. This is dark. And this is, I think, what Ishii was attempting to do, to bring Egwene to this level of darkness where she would be pushed to do something morally dubious and like letting someone die. Now, Rhenna is despicable. Like, I'm not going to grieve this woman's death, but letting them die this way when they are no longer a threat is dark. It is also, just going to say to Egwene, bad strategy. Now, I'm not going to blame you. You've been through a lot. But Rhenna somehow released you from her collar by taking off her bracelet. We know that taking off the bracelet alone does not release you from the collar. She did that every single time she left you alone in that room. You need to figure out what it is that she did when she took off that bracelet that released you from the collar, because that's the only way you can actually possibly go around and save anyone else or undo this system. Right now, she's dead. You have no way of knowing how she did that. Like, again, not blaming Egwene. Long-term thinking after a couple of days of torture, a couple of weeks of torture. I don't know how long she's been. The show has done, it's very interesting. The show has done a better job or a more visceral job of showing the horror of Egwene's enslavement than the books did, because in the books it's largely off screen. But in the books, it's a very long time. Whereas here, I'm not sure. Like, this could be a couple of weeks, maybe. It's not approaching, like, the short estimate in the books of how long Egwene was enslaved is like 2.5 months. The long estimate is 4 months. In the show, it feels like it might be a couple of weeks. It doesn't really necessarily feel like it's been that long. So that is interesting. But whatever. I don't blame her for her lack of long-term thinking. It's frustrating to me because they still don't know how to take it off. Like, all of this has happened and nobody now still knows. Like, nobody knows how to take off the collar without just killing the Sul'dam. Rand came to save her, and she's already saved. Very much what happens in the books. People are here to save Egwene. Well, in the books, Nynaeve and Elaine and Min save her. Well, it's Nynaeve and Elaine mostly that save her. But Rand was trying and then got sort of detoured by Ishii and the Heroes of the Horn and the White Cloaks. There was a bit of a detour that happened that stopped him from saving her. And then I don't even think he's fully aware that he didn't by the end because, he's wounded. But yeah, so this is cool. She saved herself, which is very interesting. Again, we have a difference because, Elaine actually helped. Nynaeve didn't. And I talked about this in my reaction. We are missing a scene in this finale that is one of my favorite scenes from The Great Hunt, where it's a scene. When I say one of my favorite, it's actually hard to read, but it's a scene that makes me almost cry or sometimes cry every single time. And that's when, after Egwene smashes the pitcher into Rhenna and then covers her mouth and starts torturing her, and then she goes to do it again, and Nynaeve holds her and starts comforting her, and Egwene just says, "Oh God." Egwene's just like, "She hurt me," and she said, like, it's so visceral. Like, it's just such a small phrase, but it gets me every time. And then the way that Nynaeve comforts her, and then realizes that the true justice is letting everyone see that the Sul'dam in the collar, that's going to ruin their lives. We don't actually have to do anything incredibly cruel to them. They will do it to themselves. Just by the culture will do it to them. I like that. I do, because of the level of faith that I have in the writers of the show, I miss that scene, and yet I think they are building to something with Nynaeve's character next season. I'll get into that later. Okay, so just going to point this out now because I'm going to talk about it in a minute. Is she tosses Egwene, then tosses Rand, like, doesn't even break a sweat, just like bing, and then bing, like, it's not hard for him at all. Then he sets off this signal. Now, again, fun to watch the second time around because I missed that completely. I was like, I don't know how, like, did they just start shill? I don't know, but he's definitely set up a signal there that I completely missed. This, like, opening the chest with the dagger, this is just, this is not what happens in the book at all. Like, I think they just have the horn in their hands. It's not in the chest anymore at this point because it was just on display. But this just feels very matte. Like, in the moment in the books, they're all like, Matt is doing things like throwing the horn over the fence and then going and picking it up. It's fine. It's like blowing dust out. he's not treating it with the reverence that everybody else wants to treat it with. And so here, him just being like, oh, this box, yeah, no, I'll just destroy it. Like, it is now completely ruined, but that doesn't matter. The horn is what matters. Like, I like it. It just feels very accurate to who Matt is. Perrin is fighting the Seanchan, and Dane is fighting the Seanchan. And then they fight the Seanchan together. Like, it's a very short arc that happens in this episode, but there is an arc that is happening to their relationship that I think is going to culminate next season with the Two Rivers storyline that I'm assuming we're gonna get next season. Like, why build this foundation if we aren't going there? So I'm assuming that's where we're going. It just, it happened so quickly. Fighting adjacent to each other and fighting together, and then okay, Nynaeve here is trying so hard, and this is the scene I kept saying I'm going to talk about this here. The uncertainty in her face. Again, fully book knowledge, headcanon that I'm doing here. I am seeing just a level of insecurity and uncertainty in her face because I think, again, like I said, book knowledge, I think she has just done something that fundamentally goes against who she is as a person, like torturing Sita in that way. And like not only doing it, but being seen to do it by Elaine, someone whom she has a level of respect for, I think, by this point. I think it has made her feel incredibly insecure. And okay, in the show, they've said that she can channel only when she's angry or when she's afraid. She should be afraid in this moment, but I think her insecurity, her lack of self, she doesn't know who she is in this moment. Basically, like, she's wearing clothes. This is not her. Like, she's wearing clothes that she doesn't wear. Her makeup is not, like, that's not the type of makeup. She doesn't wear makeup, at least not with that smoky eye or whatever. She is not herself in this moment. She's also just done something that was like, a woman died. Like, and, she probably is not a fan of Sita, but she was doing things, she was torturing her, and then that woman died. Like, she does not feel like herself. And she has done something that I think goes against the grain of who she is. And that's why I think she's having trouble here. Could be wrong, but I think we are building towards something here. Like, I'm going to contrast it with Matt. I've said this before, and one of these days I'll make a video about it, but I think that Matt and Nynaeve are very much mirrors for each other. In the books, they are probably the two most unreliable narrators, especially when talking about themselves. They don't, like, Matt, I'm no bloody hero. Nynaeve constantly thinking she's a coward. Like, they lie to themselves to their own detriment about themselves all the time. And I think the show is also mirroring them, but in a, possibly a similar way. But the show brought Matt so low that the reveal of who he is in this episode feels earned. Like, that moment landed. It really landed. And I think it landed harder than it, like, obviously it's very different than it was in the books. He's not a hero of the horn in the books, whatever. But it landed hard because of how, like, especially like last episode, I think, or whatever episode with the tea, where he's like, oh, I'm just an awful person. Like, my parents hate me. Like, they think I'm going to be just like my dad. And look at me, I'm hanging and I'm drowning people and I'm killing people. Like, him seeing himself that way and then finding out, no, I'm actually a hero. Like, that lands. That really lands. And I think they are doing the same with Nynaeve, because if you remember, when people think of book 4, when people think of the Shadow Rising, they usually think of Rhuidean, which obviously amazing. They think of the Battle of Two Rivers, obviously amazing. They don't think about it as much the Tanchico storyline. Nynaeve in Tanchico finds out that she is as strong as one of the Forsaken. That is a big, like, reveal moment, a character reveal moment. And I think just like I think that moment with Matt landed because of how low Matt had been brought, I think bringing Nynaeve to that same level of, I don't know who I am anymore, it's going to land harder when she inevitably engages with Moghedien. Okay, I'm going to see if I can do this. All right, so this scene, different from the books. In the books, Egwene and Perrin are in the midst of surrendering when Hopper jumps out of, like, the night and de-throatifies one of the White Cloaks, and then the other White Cloaks kill him, and then Perrin goes into a rage and kills 2 White Cloaks. Okay, again, I've said this a couple of times. The response of the White Cloaks is completely understandable. a beast jumps out of the night, rips the throat out of one of your soldiers, you kill that beast. That is not an amoral thing to do. What Bornholt did here, we feel, because we know Hopper. We know that he is sentient. Bornholt doesn't know this. We have a relationship with Hopper. Bornholt sees a wolf attacking one of his soldiers. Of course he kills the wolf. Like, of course. You do. Like, that is a normal and natural thing to do. He does not do a bad thing here. Perrin's reaction, I get it. Again, we have a relationship with Hopper. I get it. He is defending his friend who he knows is a full 360-degree, like, three-dimensional person in a wolf's body. Like that, we know that. They don't know that. And so their reaction to Perrin makes sense in this point. Perrin killing somebody for killing a wolf that was attacking a soldier, like, there is nuance here. There is nuance. I just have to, this moment, it was beautiful. Like, props to whoever, like, however they came up with this idea. It was beautiful. It made me cry. Okay, this moment, just, full, like, I have goosebumps again. I can't, this was amazing. We were building towards this all season, but just Matt blowing that horn, the way everything slows down, just the, like, the, what do you call that? The reverberations in the atmosphere. Yes, it felt right. It absolutely felt right. Okay. Now, I just want to talk about this moment here with the Heroes of the Horn, of course, Birgitte here in this. What interested me in looking at this was that when Matt is turning, like this particular shot of Matt, he looks heroic. What he reminds me of in that shot actually is Errol Flynn, which is like an old silent movie hero, which up until this moment, Matt has looked unwashed, like he has an odor to him. Whereas suddenly in this moment, he had, like, the way they frame it, he looks heroic, and it's well done. It's really, really well done. I do want to go through at some point and figure out who everybody is. Like, I'm pretty sure that is Arta Hawkwing. And then the woman, like that woman there, I think that's Amoresu, that's Birgitte, and whatnot. I don't know that we will know who all of them are. The other thing I wanted to note is that there's a line that Arta Hawkwing says, or I'm assuming it's Arta Hawkwing says, like, I fought beside you times beyond counting, or something like that. That is a line from the books, sort of, but in the books he says it to Rand, not Matt. Matt is not a hero of the Horn in the books, and I think actually RJ's even specifically confirmed it. But I find it interesting that they are using a line that is said to Rand to indicate that Matt is a hero of the Horn. The reason I find that interesting is because I've had discussions with people who insist that Rand is not a hero of the Horn. And the reason I've had this discussion is because I am of the opinion that Egwene should have been made a hero of the Horn at the end. And people will say that that's not possible because none of the other heroes of the Horn can channel. And I would say, no, Rand is a hero of the Horn. And I think RJ confirmed it. He did call Rand a hero when somebody asked him, but then people will say, but he didn't say hero of the Horn. So I don't know. I think that Rand is, and therefore that is proof that people who can channel can be heroes of the Horn. Not to mention, Amoresu is a hero of the Horn. That Amoresu is like that woman here. She is the female counterpart to the dragon in Turnings of the Wheel, where they need a female dragon. She is the female dragon. One would presume then, if she's the female counterpart, that she can also channel, right? Like, it doesn't make sense to me that the female counterpart wouldn't have the abilities that the male counterpart has. So, okay. Anyway, that's a whole other discussion about something else. But all this to say, this moment, everything about this moment was incredible. This intrigues me. He gives her the horn, and Amoresu puts it away. Just puts it away. So is the horn out of play now? Or does it go back, like she put it away and then it just goes back into hiding somewhere in the world? Because the horn does play a part in the last battle in the books. So I'm curious as to, like, this does not happen in the books. The horn does not disappear with the heroes of the Horn. So I'm just very curious as to what happens to this horn now that she has put it in some magical pocket. Oh, I think by this point, when I was watching, I had sort of lost control. I was just squealing and making sounds. This, when he yells, time to toss the dice. I can't say it in the old tongue. I have to practice, but it was, This moment, it made me so happy. It was wonderful. So Perrin chops him a second time, I guess. Like, he chopped him while he was standing, and he falls down, and he chops him again, and Dane, of course, sees it. This, again, I keep saying it every time, but this is very clearly building towards conflict next season that is going to make a bit more sense. Also, this, like, makes it very, very direct. In the books, Dane suspects that Perrin is responsible somehow, indirectly, for the death of his father. Like, there is rumors of a golden-haired somebody, or golden-eyed somebody, and then his father died in a fog that nobody could see. Like, it's all very tangential, and he guesses. Whereas here, this is direct. He saw this, and he knows. So that conflict, very, very clearly laid out. Uno, very clearly Guidal Kane. Like, look, 2 swords. He's got 2 swords. And this works for me, because if you remember, Brigitte always found Uno to be a well-set-up man. So, yeah, that's her type. That's Guidal. Okay, I am not the first person to point this out, but here, okay, Elaine is like, your wisdom, use your wisdom knowledge. And then she starts pushing the arrow through. She does not take out the feather. She doesn't break off the arrow to make it shorter so that it doesn't have to push it through quite as far. Like, what? I don't understand. This is very, very bad. It's just everything. You break it so it's shorter so you don't have to push as much of it through. Then you can pull it on the other end. You also take off the feather so you're not leaving bits of feather in her wound. Like, no, why? But, okay, the other thing, if I pretend that weirdness isn't happening, I like that Elaine is like, okay, you know what? Channeling isn't your thing. Let's rely on your other knowledge. I keep saying it over and over again. Elaine is such a good friend for Nynaeve. I hope that we will get to see the other side of this at some point, but it is a thing that once I started noticing it, I couldn't not see it. That these 2 women see each other, like they see the strength in each other, and they bring it out in each other, even if they don't necessarily know it. And even if sometimes I feel like RJ didn't quite, the way he wrote female friendships sometimes is frustrating, but that is something that is evident in their relationship that I wish could be played out more. And I like that we see it from Elaine here. Elaine is like, okay, you have other skills. You are also a wisdom. Use that. And then she just doesn't do it because take the feathers off. Come on. At least take the feathers off. This moment weirdly made me cry. It was Nynaeve saying, like, she's not going to need me up there. I don't even know if I'll be able to channel. She'll need you. It's Nynaeve exposing her soft underbelly, which she doesn't normally do, her weakness to Elaine. This is, again, showing the foundations of their friendship, which I love. Her letting Elaine see a side of her that she doesn't normally let people see. Elaine's already seen it a couple of times that we've seen in these episodes, but I don't know. I just really like it. It read true to me. And I guess because I am so invested in their friendship, seeing this moment, it touched me. Like I got teary watching it. All right. This is interesting. This is different. Again, the first wound he gets in the books, the first side wound he gets is directly from Ishii, who pokes him with like an evil quarterstaff, I guess. We have Matt doing it. That is going to have ramifications, I'm assuming, because I don't think Matt is going to get over having accidentally stabbed his friend with an evil dagger. So that is going to have ramifications. I will say, I thought this was clever. Like, Min's visions don't happen exactly the way she sees them. They happen. Like, if she sees something happening, it happens, but it doesn't necessarily, like, she'll see, like, there's times where she would just see people stand, like, looking through a mask of their own face. That didn't happen. Like, people don't walk around with masks of their own face walking around. So her visions indicate what will happen. They don't show exactly what will happen. So the vision was Matt stabbing Rand. Matt stabbed Rand. It just didn't happen like with his hand doing it. So, okay. I liked that. I will say this, when Ishii does this, he says, this was a very simple illusion. I'm just going to point that out because of something I'm going to bring up later. All right. Egwene versus Ishii. Now, I think I talked about this a lot in my reaction, like in the post thoughts, that like this strikes me as odd. It strikes me as a little bit less odd upon rewatch, First of all, as many people pointed out, she's just defending. She's not doing any offense here, so that is a bit different. You need a different level of strength just to hold someone back than to actually be attacking, right? But I also don't think Ishii is trying his best here. I think, like, as I said there previously, when he said it was just a simple illusion, I can't believe you fell for it. I think that everything that's happening here is also an illusion. He is doing just enough here so that Egwene has to keep fighting so that she feels like it's a fight, but he could probably take her out really easily. I think that he is playing a long game here, as evidenced by the fact that he already let the other Forsaken out. He knew before this moment that Lanfear, sorry, still a little jet lag. My brain is still working a bit slow. That Lanfear had betrayed him, so he kind of already knew he'd lost here this particular battle. I think he is planning for the next stage. All right. Moiraine says that she will let 1,000 innocents die if it will mean even the chance of Rand living. This is something I've said about Moiraine before, is one of the things, it's a strength of hers, and I think it's, like, though we're not really seeing it in the show as much, it's one of the major points of conflict between her and Nynaeve, is that she thinks big picture and Nynaeve thinks whatever's right in front of her, right? So she will, if an inn is burning and they have to get away because they have to get the dragon to safety, that's fine. Whereas Nynaeve is like, but that inn is burning. We have to help the people in the inn, and thinks that Moiraine is being callous. Moiraine isn't being callous. And here, like, it's actually coming across as somewhat callous, but you have to understand her mission, literally the fate of the world. 1,000 innocent people dying. If the entire wheel gets broken and all of existence stops, those are not even remotely equal. Like, one of them is worth sacrificing for the other. It does feel callous, and you can see, though, Lan coming to terms with it, being like, yeah, I guess we have to think like that. And I just had to put this in here. Badass Lan. I love Badass Lan. Look at him. He's just chopping people. He's catching arrows. She's doing fire dance or whatever. And it's just like, look at him. He catches that arrow. That's amazing. Badass Lan is great. And here, okay, back to this tower battle here with Ishii versus, what I put down here is, in my notes, the EF5 +1. The Emond's Field 5, although there's Two Rivers 5 +1. We've got, Nynaeve, Perrin, Mat, Rand, Egwene, and then Elaine, who, like, half of these people do not know who Elaine is. So we have the band back together, that is the first 3 books, or the first 3 books that happens, where they get split apart and then they come back together in this final confrontation. And it's so satisfying seeing them come together like this. Elaine healing Rand. This is interesting. This is okay. I'm obviously weird that it's not Nynaeve, but again, what I talked about before, I do think that Nynaeve is just dealing with not feeling like herself in this moment. But this struck me as interesting because in the books, how Elaine and Rand meet is Rand falls off a wall and might possibly be concussed, and she nurses him back to health. And he has this moment, like, of just looking up and seeing her. That's what this is. It's that scene, except it's not in the palace garden. There's obviously a big battle going on. But it's just interesting that they have brought that echo of that scene from book 1 into this scene from season 2. Okay, first thing, Rosamund Pike, very, very flexible. My hands do not bend that way. Like, it's like not even just my avatar hands. I'm looking at my real hands and my wrists are not that flexible. So props to her. But all right, I was watching this, I think my 3rd time, second rewatch. I'm going, that's the power as a weapon. That's the power as a weapon. Now, I think that, like, these 3 O's that the Aes Sedai have, very, very easy to get around. Like, we see that with the lies all the time, but using the 1 power as a weapon, the exceptions are in the final defense, of your warder, or another sister, or, like, the final defense of your life or something. So I think if you are thinking the end of the world, like, literally the Dark One is trying to break the wheel, that is the defense of my life, like, I can see you doing that. It's just, that was a thought I had, was just like, she's clearly blowing up a ship with the 1 power. That's a weapon. So, okay, I think we can work around it. I don't think it's actually that hard, but it's skirting the line. And here, Rand kills Ishii with his sword. Now, this in the books, he does kill Ishii with the sword, and the sword melts just like here. That happens in book 2. This sword form that he used, I'd have to go back and check, but is that the sword form that what was his name? Errol, the blade master in the mental health facility showed him? Was that it? I feel like it was, but I'm not sure. But okay, we got the branded palm, which is great. That is straight out of the books. But I do want to just point out, Ishii just lets this happen. Like, he watches him walk towards him and then just doesn't move. Like, doesn't, everything. He just lets this happen. This leads to my theory. This is an illusion, I think. Like, not necessarily, like, it's not necessarily that I think his death is an illusion. It might be, but I do think that him saying such a simple illusion, and I can't believe you fell for it or whatever, is a hint to this. Now that, like, that blowing away as dust might be an illusion, but I also think, like, to remember, Ishii had told Lanfear, I'm the only one that the Dark One actually talks to. I can fully see Ishii going to the Dark One after he's realized that Lanfear has betrayed him and been like, I'm not going to make it. Like, there's no way for me to turn Rand the way things are set right now. And the Dark One being like, all right, die, I'll bring you right back and we can do this again and see if we can do it in this lifetime. So I still fully, like, I think he's going to come back either as this amazing actor, Ferris, or we're going to get a Moradin situation. I fully believe that. I fully, not only fully believe it, I fully believe that Ishii in this moment knows this. This is not him dying and thinking things are over. He's lying, thinking, like, indicating that things are over. He's completely lying because he is the father of lies, and he knows that he's going to come back and torment Rand some more. That's my theory anyway. How about you? This dragon. Okay. Very, very extra. Very extra. Like, Moiraine. All right. Okay. First of all, okay, I'm realizing now, when I captured this clip, I didn't capture a moment that I meant to. So I'm going to ask you, I'm not going to go back and get it this time, but I'm going to ask you, when you go back and rewatch this, Moiraine sends fire towards the tower, and then from the ships, another stream of fire comes, and that's the dragon. Did Moiraine make the dragon, or was Moiraine doing something? Because that's why she has that shocked look on her face, right? Like, that shocked look at the beginning of my clip here. She's sending fire, and then there's another stream of fire, and she goes, whoa! So I'm wondering if that other stream of fire was her or not. Like, one of the times I watched, I thought, oh my gosh, she didn't do that, and that's why she's so surprised. It's like just fate or something that has made this dragon. If she made it, this is impressive. Moiraine, how, like, it's weird. This is not an ability that we ever see in the books, but okay. In the books, she does, like, turn herself into a giant and step over a wall, so we get some weird stuff in the books. But this was very, very extra. This is over the top. This is another scene that I completely missed. Lanfear, looking smug and satisfied, having watched and made all of this happen. Lanfear made this happen. Like, Lanfear put all this together. Now that I'm thinking about it, that other stream of fire with the dragon, that could have been Lanfear, and that would make sense, because the idea that Moiraine could make a precise fire dragon seems a bit odd, but Lanfear could do it. I bet you she could. So, yeah, I completely missed this the first time around. Just, again, my brain was not entirely here. So she, very satisfied with what she's done here. When I saw this scene, I was, like, entranced by her lapels. Did not notice all the crescent moons on the front of her outfit. Like, she's got, like, the different phases of the moon. It's amazing. And then she goes in, and look, all of the seals are broken. Now, like I said, they were already broken before that scene. We saw Ishii come in and dust off his hands, which is why I think that he went into this with long-term plans. Like, if Ishii thought, I'm just going to die, why would he care to let the other Forsaken out? Like, I'll just do this again in my next life when I encounter the dragon. No. That's why I think that he's still planning to come back, because he's still planning to manipulate things even with the other Forsaken now. He needs somebody to work against Lanfear, because Lanfear has different motives. Lanfear loves the dragon. Like, Lanfear loved Luz Theron, but as, like, he always said, you loved power more than, so she doesn't just want to be with Rand, the humble healthcare worker in the Foregate. She wants him to rise and become someone powerful so that she can love that man. So that's what she's doing. And whereas Ishii, again, always just trying to end everything. This Magedian introduction, okay, I said it in my reaction. This is not even remotely how I imagine Magedian. Like, she might be my favorite Forsaken. I don't know. A lot of people have a favorite Forsaken. I never really think about that sort of thing, but her story in the books of the Forsaken is one of my favorites just because of how intertwined it is with Nynaeve's arc. So she's the Forsaken that I probably have thought about the most, maybe. But this is not at all how I thought of her. I think I like it. I haven't gotten to Magedian yet in my reread, so it'll be interesting to see if I can like read this interpretation of her onto the way she is presented in the books, because she's much more cool in the books, like especially when interacting with non-Forsaken. So we haven't seen that. Maybe like when she's interacting with non-Forsaken, she won't be this unhinged. But this is interesting. It's really, really interesting. I think, like I said, this is not at all how I interpreted her. It doesn't even feel like a reflection of how I interpreted her, but I do care about character. Like all the thoughts I'm having, it would bother me more if characters that I truly loved were changed, whereas Magedian isn't a character that I love. She's a character that is interesting, who does interesting things, but I don't love her as a character. So her being different in the show doesn't upset me, and it intrigues me because I wonder why they have done this, like what they are doing or what they are going to do with her character, that they have decided to go this way with her, because it's fascinating. And Magedian traps Lanfear. Now, in the books, Lanfear, very, very powerful, much more powerful than Magedian. Like in the power, she's much stronger. But Magedian doesn't do anything without thinking of like 1,000 ways of escape. So the idea that Magedian would be able to trap her makes perfect sense to me, that she would have laid traps all around this room that could be easily triggered. That's what she is. Like, she is the spider, right? She lays traps. That is who she is. So this makes sense. The look of fear on Lanfear's face when this happens is so satisfying. Like, just even to me, I just like, oh, it satisfies me. I love it. So we had face touching and now we have sniffing? What is wrong with... Why? Why? Okay, so Magedian's got Lanfear in this trap, and then she's going to travel away. And when she does, just watch what happens to the room. The lighting changes in the room. I think Magedian, from the second Lanfear walked into this room, had sucked her into Teleron Riyadh. In the books, Lanfear definitely thinks of Teleron Riyadh as her domain. She thinks, like, I am the queen of the world of dreams. But I think, if I'm remembering correctly, there is debate in the books as to who is better in Teleron Riyadh, Magedian or Lanfear. And so it's interesting to see this here, that Lanfear was, I think, unawares sucked into Teleron Riyadh, and that's why she was able to be trapped, because Magedian had control, because it was her creation. That particular section of Teleron Riyadh was her creation. And then, okay, she says, in that moment is so cool. She's like, light help you, Rand al'Thor. Not something you'd expect a dark friend to say. But again, I think like that's her motivation is purely she wants to be with Rand as Rand is the dragon. She doesn't want to be with just Rand. She wants to be with Rand, the dragon reborn, a powerful man. And whatever gets him there, if it's the light, if it's the dark, it doesn't matter. That's what she wants. Anyway, those are my loosey-goosey thoughts on the season finale using my book nerd brain. How about you? What did you think of this season finale? What theories do you have? Do you think I'm right about everything that happened there with Ishii being part of his father of lies, his illusion? What do you think? Let me know in the comments below. And if you like my content and you want to support me, I do have a Patreon that is also linked in the description below. To my patrons, as always, I am so grateful for your support. I thank you so much. Could not do this without you. Thank you. And with that, I am going to end this here. So please like, subscribe, and I'll see you next time. Bye.